Hey everyone, my name is Josh and welcome back to your fourth stimulus package and news update. We have a lot of news to get into in today's video, so let's go ahead and dive right into it. Okay, so some very tragic news out of Washington yesterday. Senator Ben Ray Lujan suffered from a stroke, but fortunately he is expected to make a full recovery. How long that could take is anybody's best guess, but I do wish him a speedy recovery. In the meantime, without Lujan in Washington, Democrats now no longer have a working majority. This means even if senators like Joe Manchin were to get back on board with everything Democrats wanted in the Build Back Better bill, at this time they could no longer pass it since they wouldn't have the 50 votes they need. Of course, Joe Manchin hasn't changed his mind anyways, and yesterday, when asked about the bill, Manchin said it was dead. When asked if there had been any talks about the bill since December, again, Manchin said, "It's dead." One would think this could be a surprise to some Democrats, such as the Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and yesterday, when asked about Manchin's comments, this is what Schumer had to say.
We'll start the left and work your way over.
Leader Schumer, thank you. Senator Manchin earlier today said that Build Back Better is, in his words, dead. Is he right about that?
Look, we're fighting hard for Build Back Better. There are lots of provisions in that bill that are very important, many of which Senator Manchin supports, such as, say, drug pricing. And so we are continuing to work on it, and there are conversations going on between Senator Manchin and different senators right now.
The White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki was also asked about Manchin's comments. This is what she had to say.
Off the top, Senator Manchin just said that Build Back Better is dead. Was the White House aware that he felt this way, and what's the path forward for some of those Democratic priorities?
Well, as you know, as a policy, we're not going to get into private conversations we have with Senator Manchin or any other senators about this piece of legislation or our efforts moving forward. What I will note, and where there is strong support moving forward across the Democratic caucus, is on taking steps to lower costs for childcare, for health care, for elder care, on making sure that Medicare can negotiate the cost of prescription drugs, and ensuring the tax system is fair. Whatever you call that, there is strong support for that, strong passion for that, a lot of advocacy for that, and there are a lot of members having continued conversations about it.
Meanwhile, Republicans continue to object about all this excess spending, which they believe is also causing inflation. Many Republicans believe, simply put, President Biden is out of touch. Here is Republican Senator Joni Ernst slamming the Biden administration over recent inflation, as well as supply chain issues.
This past week, I was able to go out across Iowa on what we call the full Grassley, the 99-county tour. So I was able to visit 13 separate counties last week, and a lot of the same topics kept coming up over and over again, regardless of the type of visit, whether it was a group of farmers, whether it was a manufacturing business, or so forth. So while I was in Oskaloosa, I met with a group of public leaders, economic development leaders. We came together, and the top two issues that kept coming up over and over again were inflation. We're at a 40-year high with inflation. They're worried about all of their citizens. They're worried about their businesses. And the second issue was the supply chain issues that we are experiencing right now. I went on to a visit in Jones County, and I visited a furniture business. And this is what we saw going through the warehouse. There are empty shelves. Okay, this business is suffering because they cannot get goods into the United States. The supply chain is broken. The ports are broken. We got an earful on that and the costs associated with it. And then also the inflation that has come along with the exorbitant spending coming out of this administration, causing the price of goods to go up. So everything is snowballing and exacerbating these issues. And this is not just in Iowa. This is all across the United States. So we are trying to hold the Biden administration accountable with this. One, by trying to limit their spending that is unnecessary at this point in time, and also by introducing acts like the Price Act, which would require a statement that goes along with any spending that says what it will do to the cost of goods that our citizens have to purchase, as well as impact to paychecks. So there's a number of solutions that Republicans are coming up with to help combat some of the issues being exacerbated by the Biden administration. Folks, we have got to do better for our citizens. We have got to do better. Inflation and the supply chain, we can start with those.
According to the latest data released by the Treasury Department, the U.S. national debt has now surpassed $30 trillion, marking a new milestone for our government. Nebraska Senator Ben Sasse released a statement saying $30 trillion in debt is an obscene number, but what's even more depressing is the fact that most politicians in both parties don't really care. Someone is going to have to pay that money when these politicians are long gone, and spoiler alert, it won't be paid by them, but instead by our kids. Ignoring the debt won't solve the crisis, it will only make things worse. We need to cut the budget-busting spending sprees and do real entitlement reform.
Working Americans and their families are being hammered by the worst inflation in 40 years, and Washington Democrats own it. Sometimes it can be difficult to directly connect Washington policies to the downstream effects on our families. Sometimes it can be tricky to identify cause and effect, but not this time, not in this case. The pain that families are feeling today was not just foreseeable, it was actually foreseen by experts all across the political spectrum. Economists said this inflation is exactly what would happen if Democrats pushed ahead with their reckless spending sprees the economy simply did not need. Larry Summers, who was Treasury Secretary for President Clinton and ran the National Economic Council for President Obama, warned Democrats a year ago, this week, that Democrats' far-left plans could trigger, quote, inflationary pressures of a kind we've not seen in a generation. Jason Furman, who chaired President Obama's Council of Economic Advisors, said the very same thing. He said the Democrats' spending binge was, quote, definitely too big for the moment. I don't know any economist that was recommending something the size of what was done. That's Jason Furman, President Obama's Council of Economic Advisors. But our Democratic colleagues do not let families' actual needs restrain their radical daydreaming. They had already made up their minds. This temporary pandemic was to serve as a Trojan horse for permanent socialism. Remember, right from the start in March of 2020, with Americans dying from this new mysterious virus, the top House Democrats called it, quote, a tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit our vision, end quote. So the new Democratic Party's government's first major act was to start printing, borrowing, and spending money like there was no tomorrow. They managed to blow through roughly $2 trillion on a so-called COVID bill that utterly failed to crush the virus. Less than 9% of the money went to a health care fight at all. Even the liberal expert Steve Ratner, former Obama official, said the spending spree was Democrats', quote, original sin, end quote, when it comes to inflation.
So let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Do you believe something needs to be done about our national debt? But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. If you enjoyed the content in today's video, I would definitely appreciate you giving the video a like. And until next time, as always, I'll see you in the next video.